Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having a good morning, and welcome to episode seven of our Firebase application, where we are building a real-time chat application. So I know we've been going through a lot of feature developments in the past couple of videos, so let's just kind of take it easy, kind of pump the brakes a little bit, and fix a couple of bugs with our application. Now, these two bugs that I've been able to see, and some of you guys have actually pointed out, has to deal with the login and register page of our app. So let me just go over what the bugs are in our app. So similar here, we have a user, John Snow, that is logged in here. So I'm going to log out, and basically the nav bar, whenever I log back in or register, should have the updated user's name. So John Snow's here. I'm going to log out, register as perhaps Tyrion, test perhaps 70@gmail.com, fake password right there. So once I register, I would expect to see Tyrion's name. So let's give him a picture as well. Let's just choose that, register. And upon registering, I actually only see Jon Snow's name right there, and I would expect to see Tyrion. So let's go ahead and fix that bug in our code by shrinking the assembler here, and then going to the messages controller here. So the way that this code works is that every time we launch the app, we call this method in here called check if user is logged in inside of view.load, and then this checks if the user is logged in. And upon fetching this value for the user here, we set the nav bar's title with dictionary name like this. So pretty straightforward, and I want to actually show you what is happening if I just run the application, and it's going to run through all of this code, and then the title bar will be set as this Tyrion, which is who I am logged into right now. So how do we fix it so that if we registered, we get the nav bar title to refresh? Well, here is how you would do it. So instead of actually making this call here, I'm going to abstract this into a new function right here. I'm going to call this function right here, and I am going to do this. So it's going to say fetch user and set up nav bar title. So that is the function. I'm going to cut and paste all of this code in there. I'm going to call this function right away. So there it is, and here we go. One thing I do kind of want to fix is this unwrapping bang operator. So I'm going to use a guard statement up here. So let's just use guard, say guard, let else return. So this is the new style of working with optionals in Swift. And essentially what this means is that for some reason, UID is nil in this case. So in here, we will do this. Instead of UID bang, we'll just use UID, which is safely unwrapped through this guard statement. So pretty cool stuff, and eliminates the need to do the if-let statements in our code. So now we have this function here, and I actually want to call this function from within login controller. Login controller handlers here, and whenever I hit the register button, so whenever I hit this register button here with the info filled out, we call this handle register method here, and then at the very end of this code, we call it register user into database with UID, which is right there, and then we do the register into the database, finally calling dismiss this view controller, sliding it down. So in here, I would like to call something like self.messages controller dot that new method inside of messages controller. So we can't do this yet because we don't have a reference to messages controller, which I'll create up here inside of my login controller. So you got to be careful with your extensions because you cannot create messages controller up here. So if you try to do that, it's going to give you a warning saying that extensions cannot have stored properties. So we need to cut this and paste it into the actual class object right there. So going back to my file right here, all I need to do to fix this line is to enter the optional right there. So I'm going to run the application again, and I'm going to log in. See, I'm going to just simply log in with a fake email address right here. So I believe this is Jon Snow. Let's just log in right there. So no title. I'm going to run the application again. We will get a title of hopefully Jon Snow or someone. So we get Jon Snow. I'm going to log out. I'm going to say someone new right here. And we'll use test71@gmail.com, fake password again. And when I register, it should call this right here. But because messages controller is actually nil, so messages controller is this value here, which is nil. And now we need to actually set messages controller from within this file right here. So whenever we hit the logout button, we actually generate this login controller with this constructor. And we just set the messages controller on this object equal to self. All right, let's run the app. Good old tea. Now we are someone new. So I'm going to log out and register again with, let's see, the president here. And let's just give him a test72@gmail.com. Register him here. Then we'll hit the breakpoint again, perhaps. Let's see, register and hit the breakpoint. Messages controller is a valid object now. Let's hit the continue. And we get the president up there. So that's how we fix the first bug. And let's move on to the second bug, which is actually logging out and then performing the logging in should also refresh this title bar right there. So I'm gonna hit log out, log in with test51@gmail.com, and his password is also this QQQ password there. And so test51 is this Brand Stark character right there. So Brand Stark is right there. And I'm going to log in. And if I'm logging in, the title should say Brand Stark, but it does not reflect the new user. Now, to fix that, we will go into login controller. And there's this method called handle login here. And we sign in to the user with this Firebase auth method, and then we just dismiss the controller here. So I want to actually also call self.messages controller, fetch user and set up navbar right there. All right, pretty good stuff. So I am going to do that, run. I'm going to log out of my user right here, which is Brand Stark, and I'm going to log out. And you see I can log in as perhaps test42, which is Ned Stark. And now hit the login test42@gmail.com. Let's just see if this will work. Okay, and now that says Ned Stark right there. It's pretty good stuff. And let's see, how can we optimize this code so that we can avoid one unnecessary Firebase call? So in other words, I want to go into login controllers right here, and upon registering my user into the database, I don't actually need to fetch this entire user right here, and then set the title here. I can actually simply call this instead. So instead of this, we will call self.messagescontroller.navigationItem.title equals, let's see, values name. And what is in values right here? So this needs to be casted as a string. And let's just run. So values is passed into this method from over here. And values will contain this name object, which is the name right here. And that is being fetched from this gar statement up here that gets the name from our input fields. So if I log out and register as a new user, so another new user, and this will be test perhaps 73. I hope that will work. And let's just register this, and another user will show up at the very top right there. So that's how you avoid one call to the Firebase store, which you don't really need to perform. All right, so that's pretty good as well. And what is the other issue we want to talk about today? We want to look at what happens whenever you hit this new message icon at the top. So someone brought this to my attention in the comments of the last video. And the issue here is whenever I tap on this icon, we bring up the list of new users for our application. However, the amount of time that it takes to download these images is rather long. So you see how long that is taking? So you scroll down, it actually takes quite a bit of time. And let me just show you that one more time. I want to tell you exactly why that is happening. So I'm going to load the application, and we get our simulator here, click that. And this is actually rather slow, even for my connection on my computer here, which is a pretty fast connection. So the reason why this is occurring is because inside of Firebase storage, all of the images inside of profile images here, taking a look at the size is actually quite huge. So 700 kilobytes, 700, some of these files are over a megabyte, for example, this right here. And let's take a look at this most egregious file here with the download URL of that. I'm going to paste it down here, download. And here is the image for that file. And this is quite heavy in terms of the size, and we don't really need the resolution quality of that image like that. So what you can do is, instead of, let's go to login controller. I'm going to take a look at this bit of code right here on line 35. And this upload data is the generation of the binary data from PNG representation of our profile image. So the way to introduce compression to our images is to simply say the same thing if let upload data equals UI JPEG representation right here. And this comes with a compression quality parameter that you can pass in. So let's just use self.profileImage view.image again with the bang operator, and compression quality you can specify as 0.1 for 10% of the quality. And now that we have this, we'll just comment that out, and perhaps you can also change this to JPEG as well. So you can run this application and you can register your new users inside of your app via this call again. And then what you'll end up with is a directory with much smaller files like this one right here. So my completed application inside of the simulator, if I can bring it up, this right here, it actually uses this compression method and fetches these files that are only roughly 20 kilobytes, 40 kilobytes, and pretty much under 50 kilobytes. So that's quite the advantage that we get from compression. So why don't I run the application? So let me just run that. You see how fast that loaded? That is the power of compression, and we no longer need to fetch the entire image for our list of users. So let me just show you that one more time. Well, actually, I think that's okay for now. And if I try to run this, I think we are okay. So I'm going to go here and register another Ned Stark character. So this Ned Stark image right here, I'll just choose, I'll say another Ned Stark, and we'll use test75@gmail.com and try to register this user here. And so that's going to complete, and we get this guy there. If I refresh this storage area, I can see the new file. Well, perhaps use this one instead. This is the actual app that I'm using, and I'm going to look for this file down here. So July 6th, and here is perhaps a file that I will check. Let me just see this right here. Okay, this. Okay, so this file right here is the one I just uploaded this morning at 5:25. I'm going to copy that and paste that in there. Run this and get this image. And you notice how the quality of this image is a lot worse than the previous one at full fidelity, but this is okay for our profile images because the actual image is really, really small anyways, so it's really hard to tell that there's actually indeed any compression at all. So that's how you would fix the third issue. All right. So thanks for bringing that up. I, for some reason, just neglected to perform this compression here the first time going through. And let's see, what do we want to do? I want to kind of show you how you would actually perform this unwrapping of this image a little bit safer in terms of getting this image file. So if you want to actually unwrap this, you can do this if statement instead. If you just unwrap it first, if let, see, profile image equals profile image do that image, you can unwrap it like that, right? And you can access this image already. And I think we need a self here. So this is what this statement looks like. And if we wanted to get the upload data using this image, we can just simply hit a comma right here. So upload data equals UI JPEG representation of this profile image now, profile image, and the compression quality is 0.1. So if I remove this bottom brace right here and remove this entire line, we get the exact same logic, but however, we are no longer unwrapping a possibly nil file or nil object for image, and this is guaranteed to pretty much not crash your application. Whereas previously, this bang will potentially cause your app to crash if image is nil. So that's hopefully something that will help you guys program your Swift code and make it a little bit cleaner and more bug-free. Okay. Now, what is the final topic that we want to talk about here? So I'm going to go into my similar, tab over to my somewhat completed application, and you notice how this is the title bar that comes with this image right here. So if you don't want to watch this part of the video, I will forgive you if you skip over it. And the idea is I want to actually include a little image and also the title bar here that is completely centered inside of my nav bar. So if I go into Photoshop here, basically I want to center my title. However long the text is, I want to center both of the views like this in these three left images here. And I don't want this to occur where the title bar text is actually running into the right side right there. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now, seeing as we do have a few minutes. I'm going to go into messages controller here, and I want to actually call a new function called, let's see, check if user is logged in, and then we fetch and set up navbar title. Okay. I am going to actually call a new function, see, function called setup navbar with user right here. And this is going to take in a parameter of user, and I need to do something with this user. So I'm going to call this function from within this right here. So instead of setting the navigation title like that, I'll call self.setup navbar with user, and this user will be let user equals user, and user.set values for keys with dictionary of this dictionary object right here, which contains the name, email, and profile image for our user. And now I can send the user directly into this method here and call self.navigation item title. See title, like that is user.name. So I'm going to comment this out right here. If I run the application now, we will see the title being set via that new method call right here instead. So I'm going to include two views into my title. And the way to do that is to introduce a container view called, see, let title view equals UI view. And then we actually set the navigation item.title view to that title view instead. So this is our container view right there. And let's just comment out that for now. Cool. And perhaps let's set a frame for this title view. We'll CG rect, and let's use a value of 0, 0, and 100, and height of 40. And if we set the title view background color, this will give us a better picture as to what is going on here. So let's just run this application now. We'll see a red bar of 100 pixels wide and 40 pixels tall, like that. So I'm going to include an image view and a label inside of this container like this. So let profile image view equals UI image view. So I'm going to try to do this as fast as I can. Profile image view image. Let's see, no, okay. We're going to actually load image using cache with URL string, and this will come from this profile image URL here, user.profileimage URL. And then here we will cut this entire code, paste it in there, use this profile image URL, and there we go. So remember this function here we created last time inside of this extensions file right here, and it just simply loads the image firing off this request and setting the image to whatever you get back from the network. So let's just go back here, and I'm going to, let's see, add it as a subview of my title view with profile image view like that. And now I need to finally set the constraints for my profile image view. So we're going to be using iOS 9 constraints to do this. And what I mean is, let's see, so iOS 9 constraints again, constraint anchors. So we need X, Y, width, and height anchors like this profile image view. So let me just get rid of the project explorer, and this will say left anchor is constrained to the title view's left anchor like so. And then we also say profile image view dot, let's see, what is the Y? So Y is center Y anchor constrained to title view dot center Y anchor like that. And what is the width here? So width is going to be constrained to a constant of 40. And let me just type in the height to also be 40. And remember, every time we use these constraints, we have to set this rather obnoxious property here equals false. And then we need to set up another set of rather obnoxious properties called active equals true, like that. And hopefully, having done all of this, we will see something inside of our red bar right there. And you see this image showing up, right? So now let's actually fix the aspect ratio of this profile image view by setting content mode equal to scale aspect fill. And then I will introduce a layer dot corner radius equals 20, which is half of the width of 40. And then we finally need to set clips to bounds to true, which will actually make the corner radius take into effect. All right. So that gives us the Ned Stark image right there. Now we need to introduce the title, which is going to be 8 pixels to the right of Ned Stark right there. And I will create it right below. I will say let name label equals UI label, and then name label dot text equals user dot name, which is this user here, and his name will be perhaps some bit of text. And now we'll set name label dot translates is false, and here we will need our constraints again. So let's just specify name label left anchor. So left anchor is actually going to constrain to the, let's see, profile image view dot right anchor, and then we can actually specify a constant of 8 pixels, making it shift over 8 pixels to the right. And then we need the, let's see, Y anchor. So center Y is constrained to anchor of, I'm going to center it with the profile image's center Y. And what is this width parameter now? This is the trickier part. I'm going to actually specify right anchor constrained to equal to the title view's right anchor. And that's going to give me the width from this image here to the entire right side of the red bar. And now the final bit is to constrain the height anchor to, let's see, constrain to anchor. You guys guessed it, it'll be the profile image view's height anchor like that. And then I need to set all of these active to be true, 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 like so. All right. And now the final bit to do is to actually add it to title views subview hierarchy via this call right here. Now running this, hopefully we'll actually see something in our title bar. And then so we get this, and then we have an error. So what is this error right here? Let me just look at this. So it has a different view hierarchies, and I actually need to add in this label immediately after I create it. So whenever you try to add anchors without the proper hierarchy, you will get a crash. So make sure to remember that. Now, this is what this looks like right now. And so the problem is that this label right here is not being extended to actually fit the entire label. In other words, I want it to be as long as it needs to be to show the entire text without being truncated with those 3 dots. And how do we do that? So that is the million-dollar question here. And there is not a super good or clear explanation on how to do this. So I'm going to show you the magic by using a third view here. And this third view will be a container view that I will create right. Let's see, I'll just create this container view right here. So container view equals UI view like this. And I'm going to instead add this as a subview of container or title view by specifying that. And let's just also use translates, let's see, equals false right there. And now we are going to add in profile image view and the name label into this container view, or this container view right there. In other words, I will say container view instead of the title view. So instead of the title view, I'll say that, and instead of title view there, I'll say container view. And with all that work being done, all I need to do now is I need to center the container view inside of the entire title view by doing this. So container view, center X anchor, dot constrain to title views center X anchor, and then container view dot center Y anchor constrain to anchor of title view dot center Y anchor. And I need to set these actives to true dot active equals true. Now, one other thing that I have to change is these constraints right here are all being constrained to the title view, but we need to actually instead constrain it to the parent view of container view. So everywhere it says title view, I'll change it to container view, and this will also need to say container view. And running this application now, let's see what our title bar will look like. So that's what it is showing up as, and you can kind of tell that it is being centered inside of our navigation bar right there. And to make it a little more obvious, I'm going to comment out the red color for the background. And let's now take a look at what this is doing. So now this says Ned Stark, and if we simply change the user's name to something a little shorter, let's just see what happens for perhaps Jon Snow, and we'll run that and see if that is being centered along with the image on the left. So Jon Snow, and we have equal spacing to the left and to the right. And we type in a really, really long character right here, Jaime Lannister, King Slayer, like so. Let's see if this is going to center in the nav bar as well. So there we go, and the image is right there. It's slightly encroaching onto the left buttons area right there, but it is centered nonetheless. So this is how you would center a text label. Just make sure that it doesn't, it's not too long, and you should be okay. So let's just bring that back and run the application again, seeing that our nav bar will show this as the title with the image right there. So that's how you would kind of center a container view with a couple of subviews inside of its view hierarchy. Okay, now we need to do a couple of things here. Let's see. Nope, I think we are fine. Let's see. Okay, the last issue that I want to show you is that now that we have this new method here, we actually need to go back to login controller, and upon registering, instead of simply setting up this the navigation title, I will actually need to call this new method instead, which will be called self messages controller setup navbar with user, and we need a user instead of this title or this label string of name, and we will construct it with this user object right here with this dictionary that we get from this values object passed into this method right here and right there. And remember, this setter potentially crashes if keys don't match. So make sure to watch out for that. See, and put in user right there. And we will run the application now. And upon loading, we get Ned Stark up here and also his name. So if we log out and register again, we'll execute that bit of code. And let's just use a Sam Tarley image, one of my more favorite characters in the show. So Sam Tarley. And let's just use test 70. What are we at? 77 perhaps? Q, and Q. So register him there. And then we will update the title. And let's see. We actually need to set the name properly, I believe. All right. So the reason why his name is saying Jaime Lannister is because we are hard coding the Jaime Lannister right there. So let's just remove that. And then let's run through this example one final time with the character of, let's see, who else is a really cool character here? Let's just use our Hodor guy. And if we zoom in like that, get a clear shot of his face. Let's see, Hodor, let's see, test. You see if I can register him as 78. This is registered. And we get Hodor with his image right there. All right, that about wraps it up for today's video. Really hope you guys enjoyed a slightly easier video lesson today. And we'll learn how to fix a couple of bugs. And we also learned how to use iOS 9 constraints to make our nav bar views centered in the middle. So make sure to watch out for issues that will occur if your iPhone devices are really small. For example, an iPhone 5 or iPhone 4, the title bar is only that wide, so this technique probably will not work too well, but nonetheless, you know how to kind of work iOS 9 constraints a little bit better after today's lesson. So make sure to like the video if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out and helps engage me to make more videos as well. So that about wraps it up, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.